So we don't love English. It's our language. I'm from Germany. Actually, I'm from Germany, but my heart is with Europe, and I consider Paris the capital of Europe. And I'm feeling at home because my agency, the European Space Agency, has its headquarters here in Paris. So I come here very often, but I have never lived in France, so I don't speak French very well. I don't want to make your ears bleed because of me trying to speak French. So I will talk about the next big European mission to the moon. It's called HERACLES because it's a very nice story. You know the mystical Heracles from Greece, that was the son of Zeus, who actually decided that the gods are not the ones who should decide our fate. So why do we want to go to the moon? First of all, of course, it's science, and so science is very important. Innovation, inspiration for young people around here, and knowledge-based democracy. And I picked the last one because I want just to talk briefly about why I think, and many people think, that going to the moon helps us being better citizens in a democracy. Because democracy is about knowing stuff. For example, 20% of Americans today still believe that the Apollo moon landings have never happened. Also, 50% of Americans believe that climate change is a thing. The other 50% believe it's not a thing. Fortunately, 88% of us Europeans believe that climate change exists. So here is an interesting one. 69% of French people believe that nuclear power contributes to climate change, which is not the case. And your neighbors on the east side of the River Rhine believe there's 48% of the Germans who believe that vaccines cause autism. That's of course not true, and we need people to understand that vaccination is an important part of keeping people healthy. So we have to continuously prove that science is not a belief, like another religion, but science just works and is the only way to solve global problems. Okay, so I want to talk about the HERACLES mission, and perhaps we skip the translation for the time being because the video speaks for itself. We will launch on an Ariane 6-4 rocket from a launcher from French Guiana in 2027, which is a beautiful new rocket that will be launched next year for the first time. It's actually be built very close to here in Le Muro. Parts of it, other parts are built in Germany, in Bremen, and other parts yet are built in Switzerland. And you can already see that after a while the rocket loses its parts, and the only piece that's left at the end is a relatively small vehicle, and that's the vehicle that we are calling HERACLES. And you see it separating now. So that's the piece that will fly to the moon. So the rocket takes our spacecraft, our HERACLES spacecraft, on a trajectory to the moon. And then when HERACLES arrives about 4-5 days later, it has to brake because otherwise it would just fly by the moon. So we have to brake and then slowly turn towards the crater where we want to land. And you can see the crater down there is the big smiley face crater. It's named after a very famous physicist, Erwin Schrödinger. It's the Schrödinger crater. It's an Austrian physicist. Perhaps you know Schrödinger's cat. So he was a quantum physics guy, and he got the crater named after him. And because he was not an astronomer, they called him. They put the crater on the far side. But it turns out to be the most incredible crater that is on the moon. So we are landing on the moon with this HERACLES vehicle, and we are deploying a small rover. And this is the kind of new missions we want to do on the moon. They are not single-shot missions. They are missions that have multiple elements, so they can do much more in one mission. So we are deploying this. It's a nuclear-powered rover. So it's solar and nuclear powered. It has a solar array, but it also has a nuclear power set on the back because the night on the moon is 14 Earth days long. So it's dark on the moon for 14 days, and you get temperatures below 100 degrees Celsius, and you have to survive that, even with a machine. Machines are much more sensitive than humans. And as you can see, this rover takes samples, And these are the pieces of the moon that we still need to understand the solar system. And this is the knowledge we bring home from the moon, and it helps us to keep this science case going. Because when the samples are on Earth, we can actually keep analyzing them here and spread the knowledge and understanding how the solar system consists. In order to bring the samples home, we actually launch from the moon like the Apollo astronauts did. And then we fly to a new piece of infrastructure that we call the lunar gateway. And you see that in a minute. This is the lunar gateway. We arrive with the samples in this little vehicle at the lunar gateway. At the end, the astronauts bring the samples into a laboratory where it can be analyzed for decades. The Apollo samples are still being tested today, and our HERACLES samples will be tested for at least 20, 30 years. Okay, I will just, because my time is up, skip quite quickly to the last slide. This is our landing site, Schrödinger crater, very interesting. So how do we build HERACLES to go there? So we first need approval from our member states. So Monsieur Macron has to come to, I think it's Spain. We have a big meeting in November. It's called Space 19+, and he has to say, yes, I want this mission. And then the next step is to sign an agreement with our international partners, with NASA, with our Canadian partners, with Japan. And then we will have to have all the plans ready by the end of the year 2022. And then we have to build the hardware. So the spacecraft has to be built. It takes about 3 years, from 2023 to 2025. And then we bring all the pieces to French Guiana in 2026 and launch the thing on Ariane 6. But that's not the end of the HERACLES story, because then we keep using the landing bit of HERACLES for the following years to do science and bring cargo to the moon. Merci à tous et bonne soirée.
Merci beaucoup, Markus.
Merci pour votre attention.
Merci beaucoup pour votre temps et votre présence parmi nous. Mesdames, Messieurs, Markus de l'Agence spatiale européenne qui s'exprime dans un français impeccable. Merci infiniment.
Merci.